into this way.
There is a reference to the smile or the laughter, the word is the same, of the Arahant, which is said to be karmically neutral. He doesn't create karma, not even good karma. With his smile. It's something just purely spontaneous. That's the only discussion that I can remember. The Buddha, of course, condemned loud, braying, asinine laughter, which showed the teeth. He said this was more like madness. So, that's more like the musical, type sense of humour or expression of it.
That comes after the third question: is laughter unskillful?
But it can be, because you can laugh at someone in a very unkind, even cruel sort of way. So it certainly is possible for laughter, to be unskillful. I must say in this connection that this is one of the things I've noticed, or I noticed it some years ago originally. At order meetings, very often at order meetings, and a laugh goes round. But I noticed some years ago, I started noticing that at order meetings, at least, that the laughter was always a happy and innocent laughter, which was not at anybody's expense. And I realised that you very rarely heard that sort of laughter in the outside world, if perhaps ever. And I thought that very significant at the time. But it does seem, quite an exceptional thing that you can have a happy, innocent, quite hearty laugh, which is not at anybody's expense. Which is, therefore one might say even, purely skillful. Just an expression of one's joy and happiness. I'm not saying that all the laughter that occurs, say at an order meeting, is, invariably of that type. Perhaps not. But certainly this other kind of laughter I've mentioned is quite characteristic, I would say, of order gatherings. Okay.
Is there anything funny about Buddha?
Funny about? Well, that raises the question, for whom? For whom? Because if there was a sense of humour, if there was something funny about Buddhahood, it would have to involve, some sort of incongruity, some sort of disproportion in Buddhahood. So I don't see, how an unenlightened being, could find, therefore, anything funny in Buddhahood. But of course a Buddha might. A Buddha might think it a great joke that, having, spent all those billions of years as an unenlightened human being and put himself through all that suffering, but, here he was a Buddha, as it were, above it. What a fool he was not to have, got there, several billion, years earlier. A Buddha might have a good hearty laugh over that, but I don't think anyone else is really in a position to do so.
Johnny? Just referring to laughter. I thought I read somewhere in the Buddhist scriptures something similar to what you said before about. I think I remember a reference to dancing, laughter and laughter. Where it said, described dancing as utter craziness, I think, and laughter as absolute madness. And when one is happy, all one should need to do is smile.
There is a passage like that, I think I've quoted it, that the Buddha, I mentioned it even just now, the Buddha said, laughter which shows the teeth is madness. He meant what I call this braying, asinine type of laughter. I don't remember any reference in that same connection to dancing. But dancing, of course, was, as it were, prohibited. I believe that there was no such thing then as what became known as Indian classical dance. It was, probably something more like, well, what shall we say? I don't think it was actually performing, was it? But watching dancing girls dance, which clearly wouldn't be, a very skillful thing for any kind of monk or spiritually committed person to do. But again, in Tibet they have the so-called Lama dances, which of course have a quite different significance. I think actually, I don't know whether this has ever been mentioned. It probably has. Must be a book about it somewhere. But I think laughter does have a quite tonic effect on the system. I mean, the physical organism. Laughter which is quite hearty and which even, as it were, convulses you physically. This does have a definitely tonic effect, in as much as it releases a lot of energy, possibly in some cases energy that has been blocked. So I think laughter, of that sort, is definitely to be encouraged. It is a quite healthy thing. I think you might even say that that someone who never laughs is probably not in a very healthy state, perhaps not even physically. But because you shouldn't go on sort of trying to guffaw all over the place. It must be spontaneous, and it must be genuine sort of laughter, genuine expression of humour. One of the things I really dislike. I was asked some time ago about things that annoyed me. I couldn't think of many at the time. I thought of quite a long list. But one of them just occurs to me, which is when you listen to a radio program and some half-witted comedian makes a really feeble joke, and there is roars of hearty laughter from the studio audience, and that rather annoys me because it's so put on, and it sounds put on, and it's so artificial. It's really dreadful. So it's because when you think of it, laughter is something which, by its very nature, is spontaneous and natural. So when you get people indulging in this very forced, hearty laughter at some wretched joke, which doesn't even deserve a snigger, well, it perverts, an essentially natural sort of function, which is not a very pleasant thing to see or to hear. Do you see what I mean? Sometimes they laugh even before he says anything funny. They jump the gun a bit, or they laugh just in between when he isn't even speaking. It sounds really peculiar, quite mad. But I suppose someone comes on stage before the red light goes on and tells them that that's what they've got to do. They get in for free, so I suppose they do it.
Now we know how you spend your spare time.
Pardon?
Now we know how you spend your spare time.
What, being annoyed? Well, I gather some quite miscellaneous experience, in that.